Hello all, my name is Hitesh Tamani and welcome to my YouTube channel. So guys, today I'm back with another SQL interview question, which is from Netflix. Conceptually, this particular SQL interview question is really interesting. So make sure you watch the video till end and please subscribe to the channel if not already done yet. So as we can see, basically there is a ABC Corp, which is a mid-sized insurer in US, right? And in recent past, they had been observed like the fraudulent claims of their personal auto insurance portfolio had been increased significantly, right? So for that, basically they had developed the ML model, which is a predictive model, right? Which is basically identifying the propensity of their fraudulent claims, right? Now, what they want us to do is like basically we have to find like top 5 percentile of claims which had been identified by that particular model, right? So as we can see, basically this is the input data set which we got from them, right? And we can see like we have policy number, state, claim cost, and fraud score in this particular data set, right? So based on the like fraud score, we have to identify like basically which particular record is fraudulent and which particular record is not fraudulent, right? So basically, we have to find top 5 percentile of claims which are like fraudulent in nature, right? So like, yeah, this is the input data set. Now let's see like how we will move ahead with this particular problem statement in SQL. So let me just quickly go into SQL Workbench, right? And over here, I have already like prepared a sample data set with fraud score named table, right? And in this particular data set, we have all those columns which are there in the like main data set. So we have policy number, state, claim cost, and fraud score, right? So now, as per the question, what we have to do basically, we have to first of all, we have to basically calculate top 5 percentile of fraudulent scores, right? So basically, we have to find top 5 percentile, percentile of fraudulent scores, right? So with respect to that, and that too we have to find it out for each state, right? So as we can see, let me just quickly show you how many states are there like in this particular data set. So as we can see, we have Yeah, so as we can see, we have like 4 different type of states in there, right? So basically, we have to like for each state, we have to find like top 5 percentile of fraudulent scores, right? Or basically top 5 percentile of like fraudulent records, right? So for that, let me just quickly show once again show you the entire data set, right? Now, in order to find top 5 percentile of records, right? So as we all know, like we are having a Windows function in SQL, which will help us to find out like top 5 or like basically let's say like top n like percentile or top n number of records in our like data set, right? So basically, I'm using entile for function over here, right? Now, since we have to find top 5 percentile of records, right? So in order to find top 5 percentile or like let's say top n percentile, so I'm using 100 over here, right? So basically, let's say you have to find out like top 4 quartile, right? Or top 10 decile, right? So for that, so for top 4 quartile, we will use 4 like 4 decile we will use 10, right? And since we are having like top 5 percentile over here, so we will basically break this particular data set down into 100 parts, right? So basically what this entire function does is it will basically break down your like entire data set in like equal or non-equal groups, right? So let's say if there are even number of records, so the number of groups, basically the main function of this particular function is like it will basically break down your data set into number of groups, right? So let's say if you are having even number of records, right? So basically your data set will break down will get breakdown into even number of records, right? And if you have odd number of records, then it will get breakdown into odd number of records basically, right? So basically the number of records will be uneven in case of odd number of records, right? So since we are having 100 over here, so basically it will create 100 records of of your particular data set, right? So over here, like what we want to do, basically we have to do a partition on state, right? So for each state, we have to basically calculate top 5 percentile of records, right? So I'm using over, right? Partition by, partition by what? Partition by state, right? Order by. So order by, I wanted to do at a fraud score level. So like those records whose fraud record or like fraud score is really very high, I have to basically find those number of records basically first, right? So I'm using order by fraud score, and I will use descending, right? I will give it as alias as percentile, right? So this will be my query. Now let me just quickly run this particular query and we'll show you how our output will look like. So as we can see, basically for like CA, like California as a state, so basically it had provided us like these percentile numbers, right? So as we can see, like topmost like fraud score had is getting like 1 as a percentile number. And as we can see, basically for California, it had given it's like 99 number like of records for, or like 99 percentile as like for this particular state, right? Similarly for Florida, as we can see, so basically for Florida, it had been given like all the number of records. So basically all 100 groups had been created for Florida. So right, so based on the number of records or based on the data set we have for a particular state, it is basically creating those groups, right? Now this became like really very easy, right? So basically now what we have to do, we have to select a required number of columns from this particular data set. So I will use policy number, right? Yeah, so I will use policy number. I will use state, right? I will use claim cost, and I will use fraud score, right? So yeah, so this will be my like topmost query, and I will use from this particular query, which will be my inner query, right? And I will filter this particular data set based on percentile column. So where percentile is less than equal to 5, right? So basically we have to filter out only top 5 percentile records from this, right? So yeah, let me just, I think this is policy, right? Okay, cool. So let me just quickly run this particular query and we'll show you how it will look like. So as we can see for California, we are getting top 5 records based on the fraud score. Similarly for Florida, we are getting like top 5 records, top 5 percentile records, I would say, based on the fraud score. Similarly for New York and similarly for Texas, right? So yeah, so like this, we got like top 5 percentile of fraudulent scores, right? I hope you got to learn something new today. Thank you one and all. Have a great day ahead. Bye bye.